Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome back to the channel and welcome to tonight's live stream for the preview of the Club World Cup final where Chelsea will take on Brazilian side Palmeiras. And tomorrow afternoon, history beckons for Chelsea. This group of players, for the first time in the club's history, could win the Club World Cup. We obviously have disappointing memories from back in 2012 when we lost out with a 1-0 defeat to Corinthians. We've been a trophy-winning machine under Roman Abramovich, but this one has eluded us purely on the basis that it's so hard to qualify for this tournament in the first place. So it's one of those where when you're in it, you care about it. When your team's not in it, you couldn't really give two shits about this competition. But we're in it. We need to win it. And it's an opportunity for the likes of Cesar Azpilicueta to complete the lot and to win it all. It's an opportunity for Chelsea as a club to get that gold badge in the middle of that shirt and anything to make that dreadful home shirt look better this season. So we can get that on there. That's all the better. But George, I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything ridiculous by saying that this is one of the biggest games in Chelsea's history.
Yeah, in a weird sort of way it is, because we sing from the terrace this week in, week out, we've won it all. Well, the fact of the matter is we haven't won it all.
No.
We are missing the saluted trophy. We've had a few nightmares in this tournament when we've qualified before. I remember Falcao giving us an absolute knocking in the Super Cup to then not qualify for the World Club Cup, and same with Liverpool beating us on pens in the Super Cup. So it is a big one, and this is going to be a much tougher affair this final than it was in the semi-final. But you summed it up perfectly, mate. I mean, it's one of those that really, I mean, I couldn't even tell you the team we were playing on Wednesday. No idea. I think it does need a rejig. I don't see why you need to play this. For me, I think the Super Cup's enough. You play the best two teams in the European competitions that year, and that's enough for me. But it significantly, it is huge because it is the one missing from the set. And I was listening to you with the man from the shed end, our favourite friend, about how much of an achievement it has been from certainly Thomas Tuchel's point of view of being in every final since he's arrived, which is pretty incredible. And so I really hope that come tomorrow we can get that badge and get that one. And as Chelsea fans that we have seen, we can finally sing with confidence that we won it all.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a tricky tie. Palmeiras have won back-to-back Copa Libertadores, so that's the South American equivalent of the Champions League. No disrespect to the sides from the Middle East and Asia, etc., but this tournament does tend to be champions of Europe against champions of South America. I mean, I don't know the exact history of the tournament, but I'm not sure the last time an Asian or Middle Eastern side won or even made the final. No disrespect to them. They're there on merit. That's the format of the competition. They've won the Asian or Middle Eastern equivalent of the Champions League, so they deserve to be there on how the tournament's based. But if we're being honest, this is always South American champions versus European champions, sorry. But, I mean, George, we lost last time out to Corinthians. I mean, tomorrow, losing is not really a thought that can enter our minds. Obviously, it's a possibility, so we do need to discuss it. But, I mean, just how disappointed would you be that if we were to miss out again? I mean, I'd be gutted personally, because it's one of those where you've got no idea when your next opportunity is going to come. In the format it's currently in, they're looking at revamping the Club World Cup to perhaps make it a bit harder. So any future editions would be potentially tougher to win. You don't know when you're next going to win the Champions League. And, it's 10 years since we were last in it. It could, you just don't know how long it's going to be. So it would be devastating, really. I don't think that's a overreaction at all.
Well, everyone who's not a Chelsea fan is just waiting in the sidelines to make a mockery of us, because anything less than a win, which should be a formality, you can imagine, people saying, how can Chelsea not even win an embarrassing competition like this with the teams that they're playing against? Oh, Chelsea didn't win it. They haven't won it all. I mean, the minimum requirement is to win this competition if you're going to be in it. It's an absolute, it's hard work to get to that position. And it's also, a bit of a strain on the players having to travel out and train and play these awful games of football. And I mean, the game on Wednesday was diabolical to watch. So you've just got to come back with a trophy, and then you can say job done. have almost an evening, not even a day, an evening to celebrate, and then we're back to matters. I think if we don't win it, the pressure mounts again on Tuchel. The pressure mounts again on Chelsea and their ability of have we overachieved. Then the League Cup is obviously more important anyway, but it takes more significance because then if we go into that, then that's 3 finals we've lost. If you include the FA Cup final to that, so yeah, it's not really a winning position for Chelsea. If Chelsea win it, everyone expects us to win it. If we lose, then Chelsea are the laughing stock of that week. So I think minimum requirement, we need to win this. Simple as that. I don't care how we get it done. We just need to do it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you just touched on it there. Obviously, I haven't got your thoughts on that semi-final win. By all means, in knockout competitions, it's like it's not the performance is not really what matters. It's just getting the result and getting into that final or getting into the next round. We've seen that against Plymouth. Performance was poor. Ultimately, we got the result we needed to progress. And it was pretty much the same against Al Hilal. I mean, it was not good by any means, but I guess it's just about getting through, isn't it? But I mean, anything that concerned you at all in that game?
Well, not killing them off. I think the first half we had more than enough chances to finish the game off, and that's been a theme throughout the season, hasn't it? Just dominating certain periods of the game and then allowing teams back into the game. And if it wasn't for Kepa making, I think, 2 outstanding saves again in the sticks, I think they could have taken it to extra time. And similar to the game we were at, mate, in the FA Cup, I mean, it's a similar thing. Just an opposition that we should be really racing past and slotting plenty of goals and winning comfortably. It was a lethargic performance. I get that, acclimatizing, haven't played, you're playing in a new area, the heat, I get all those things. And sometimes when you play lower opposition, it does bring your level down to a certain extent. But we've got to be putting that away. Nice to see Lukaku get on the score sheet, obviously. But yeah, I mean, if you're winning ugly, I mean, winning football's winning football. So I'm not going to be too critical, but we need to perform better than we did on Wednesday if we're going to win this competition.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. Just on a slightly wider point, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on how are you concerned that realistically Chelsea for a number of months haven't really played well? I mean, I think the last time we actually, look at a performance and thought, shit, that was really good. Probably Juventus in the Champions League in the group stage, where I think we won 4-0. I mean, since then, all right, yeah, we were okay we showed good character against Liverpool, but we went 2 goals down. I don't think the performance was great in that game. Obviously, Chesterfield, we bashed them. We're not really looking into context into that game. But are you concerned that realistically, we haven't performed well for a number of months and we're just kind of scraping by, and ultimately you just can't keep getting away with scraping by?
No, and it's similar to Manchester United, who can't seem to put a performance together for an entire 90 minutes. I think Chelsea do play well in periods. I mean, take the United game, for example, at Stamford Bridge, dominated possession, had the chances, but ended up drawing the game. And that is football sometimes, but it's been consistently average from Chelsea for quite a while now. And it concerns me to an extent, but I think the way that Thomas Tuchel's set this team up, we're so limited because of the freak accidents that have happened. Unfortunately, the lack of the fullbacks. We've explained this numerous times on the channel. Not having possibly a replacement for Lukaku if he's not on form. We saw it firsthand, didn't we, in that FA Cup match? That okay, take Lukaku out, and people who don't like Lukaku, me for one. Are there any better options who are doing a better job? No. Havertz and Timo Werner have been terrible also. So, yeah, it does concern me, but I think we're doing the best that we can in the situation that we're in. And we're still okay. I mean, we've got to accept the league's gone now, but we can still end up on a very positive note winning competitions. And ultimately, we are a trophy machine and we've still got an opportunity to do so. So the next, let's say, couple of months with this final tomorrow, followed by the League Cup, it's massive.
Yeah, no, it really could make or break the season. Obviously, we're not going to go into the season in too much detail, but this month could be 2 trophies in the bag, or it could be none. It could also admittedly be 1, but ultimately, you need to be bagging both of these, or a minimum of 1. So it's this next few weeks got big connotations on how the rest of the season could go. But I mean, ultimately, on our form and not playing well, as long as we're still winning football matches, I'm not too concerned. But, you can't keep riding your luck and scraping by. And if we don't improve our performance levels, we are going to drop a lot more points from now until the end of the season. In one-off games or in knockout football, you can almost get away with it by putting a few matches together. But over the course of a league season, you can't get away with it. And I think it explains why we've not challenged for a league title for a number of years now. But before we get into the game, I think it could have even been today or yesterday, it was being reported that Chelsea are willing to entertain offers this summer for Kepa, the goalkeeper. Obviously, it's been a difficult time for him since he joined the club. He is having somewhat of a renaissance at the moment and probably having his best form really in the last year since Thomas Tuchel came in. What are your thoughts on the club being willing to accept offers for him, and how much do you think is a fair price for Kepa, given the fact we're not going to recoup anywhere near the 72 million we paid for him? His price probably has gone up a little bit from what we might have got for him last summer, given his decent form. If he can play a few more games between now and the end of the season and do well, it might boost that value a bit more. Where do you stand on this?
I think it's a real shame, this one, because he's come in with a big price tag to Chelsea and had to, fill some big boots with previous goalkeepers, an area that we've never really had an issue with. And he's had dips, and Mendy's come in and been unbelievable. And now Mendy's been out with the African Cup of Nations, and Kepa's rose again. We've said it before on the channel. He is the number one goalkeeper in any other team, just not Chelsea's, and that's the shame. Because I think Chelsea have to start thinking about offers, because ultimately Kepa's going to want to play football. And if he wants to play first team football, it's not going to be at Chelsea, because Mendy, deservedly so, has got that number one jersey. Now, I know that could be in contention now. People might argue, well, Kepa's probably done enough to give a question mark at who's the better goalkeeper. But I think going forward, that'll be Petr Cech's decision in terms of who stays at number one. That probably will be Mendy, but also, you have to kind of ride the wave in a sense. And if Kepa's playing well, we can certainly get that market, bouncing a bit. And yeah, I think possibly £40 million is probably about right for a goalkeeper. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the value of a goalkeeper in today's market would be for someone who's very decent, but maybe not on the level of, say, someone like an Alisson or an Ederson or like a Mendy, who would be in the 60+ bracket. So. Tough one, but it's a shame. I'd love him to stay, but we've got, unfortunately, a luxury position where we've got two amazing goalkeepers, and one of them will probably have to go.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think it's a shame it's not particularly worked out. This last year or so, he's looked like the goalkeeper we paid all that money for, but ultimately for his own career as well, if he's got aspirations of being the Spanish number one, got the World Cup coming up at the end of this year, he needs to be going to play regular football. And I think the best result for both parties is Chelsea getting massive wages off the book. For a number two goalkeeper on big wages, you don't want that situation financially. It doesn't make sense, and for Kepa's career, it doesn't make sense either. So, I think the best result is for probably a parting of ways for both parties. I think he's done well at Chelsea. If you look at it on reflection, helped us win the Europa League that year, saving that penalty in the final semi-final against Frankfurt. Obviously, played in the final. He's been instrumental in runs to FA Cup finals. I know he didn't win them ultimately, but he played a big part in those. He could win the League Cup coming up as well. There's a reason we won the Super Cup. So it's not all been bad. Has it been value for money? That's a different argument. But I think right now it's best for Kepa's career. It's probably best for Chelsea from a financial perspective to part ways. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But ultimately, we've got two number one goalkeepers, essentially, and you can't really carry on that. We probably need a cheaper alternative and use those wages that we're using on Kepa to reinvest into the squad, whether that's new signings, whether that's offering players a bit more wages that are out of contract. I can't see Kepa being here next season. If an offer comes in for that 35, 40 million pound mark, like you said, I think the club will definitely take it. But it is a shame. But ultimately, we've got Mendy, and sometimes signings don't work out. And the Kepa one is just potentially could go down as one of those. But George, back to the Club World Cup. Some positive news today. Thomas Tuchel is back out with the boys on that private jet out to Abu Dhabi. He's linked up with everyone at the team hotel again. He missed the last two games, obviously the Plymouth game in the FA Cup and the semi-final against Al Hilal. How much of a plus is it to have Tuchel back in and around the camp and on the touchline for tomorrow's final? I know he's been in contact with the team, but it's not the same, relaying messages via video, etc., and not being there to take the sessions himself and really seeing with the naked eye what's going on. So how much of a big role do you think that's going to play in tomorrow's game, if any?
I think it will. I think it's a lift for the squad, and like you said, the impact of having someone giving you a team talk online is not the same as someone in the dressing room watching your every move or on the touchline. So we love Thomas Tuchel. We're so glad that he's able to get out there, and that will bring a lift to the team, 100%. Just to see him again, to check in on him, making sure he's well, he's healthy, he's back at his job, and doing what he does best, which is making decisions on the touchline and being at the forefront of the battlefield. So I think it does have an impact, and I think it is a lift for the team, 100%.
Yeah, no, I think so. Obviously, we had today Zolt Lowe, the assistant, and Jorginho was the player in the presser earlier. I'm just going to bring up a couple of quotes from Jorginho and just get your reaction and your thoughts to it. Where are we? There we go. I'll just bring it up now. Jorginho basically saying that, of course, we can win the trophy, need to be focused, be humble, and prepared to work hard. Of course, it's not going to be easy against a difficult opponent. We can bring this trophy home. Oh, yeah, but of course, it's not going to be easy against a difficult team. George, I think those are the key things. Chelsea to stay focused over a whole 90 minutes, prepared to put that hard work in, and accept that, it's not going to be easy. Anything less than 100%. And as we saw against Al Hilal, if that game had gone on maybe another 5-10 minutes, I think we would have been looking at a draw. Yeah,
and sometimes it's hard to get motivated for these sorts of games. I know people will say, yeah, but come on, they're footballers. That's their job, and it's a final. They should be motivated. But it is a bit of a nothing trophy, apart from maybe the badge and the fact that I think it's more significant now because we need to tick it off. I think if we'd already ticked it off, we wouldn't care two shits if we'd won it 2 times. It's just the fact of we'd never won it. Let's get it in the bag. Let's get it home to Stamford Bridge in the cabinet so we can tick off the full set. And that's why this game is more important than it has been previously. And also, like you touched at the top of the show, there aren't many opportunities along the line where you get to this point. So the only issue is we know going into the final that probably it is going to be the same, where we don't concentrate for a full 90 minutes. We will miss chances. The other side will have chances and we'll have to ride our luck a little bit. But ultimately, we should still have enough quality to beat them. But yeah, you do never know. But I agree, you do have to stay 100% focused. And luckily, Thomas Tuchel will be there to make sure and bark orders if anyone's not.
Yeah, I think that's a big plus, having him there to, shout at the players, bark orders out. And, obviously the assistant and the coaches can do that. But when it comes from the main man himself, I think it carries a little bit more weight, and perhaps players are going to be more inclined to do it. Not that they wouldn't do it anyway, but they definitely do it if it's the gaffer saying it. Zolt Lowe today, he was asked, George, about whether Chelsea were conscious of losing to a Brazilian club again after losing to Corinthians in 2012. Obviously, that was a long time ago, but he's going on to say, we're really aware and know really well Brazilian teams are good in the Club World Cup history. We have a different team, different coaching teams, obviously a different game tomorrow to that one back in 2012. Once I have the feeling of favourites as the champions of Europe, we'll be confident in this game. We felt and talked already about the players being nervous in the first game. The nerves are now gone and will play with a good attitude. George, were you just on that nerves point? Are you surprised to hear from the coaching team that the players were nervous? These guys have won some of the biggest trophies in world football, in European football, played in some of the biggest matches possible. Are you surprised to hear that there were nerves within the camp that before that semi-final? And does that go to sort of indicate, how much the pressure of not having won this trophy is potentially weighing on some of the squad?
Yeah, but I think you can spin nerves as a positive. I think if you're not nervous for a cup competition, particularly when you're only a couple of wins away from winning it, I think there's something fundamentally wrong. Nerves are a good thing. If you don't have those nerves, you don't have the hunger or motivation. So it's important that we have that. It's probably more of a nerve, the nerves to pressure to play to the expectations that people expect. Chelsea are expected to roll over these two sides and win the competition. So sometimes it's almost forced nerves where they know back home that people are ready to criticise a club that should be winning the competition with ease. And it's not necessarily easy, because a game of football, anything can happen, and these Brazilian sides need to be respected. I do wonder how seriously the Brazilian sides take these finals, in terms of, is it a massive event for them?
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive in Brazil. It's really big for these guys. I mean, it's one of the biggest matches, I think, in football for these Brazilian teams.
Yeah, so exactly. So you've got to factor in that I think people, just because they don't follow these leagues or these teams, they assume that it's the same feeling for them. Don't really care about it. Rather focus on their own league. But for them to play Chelsea in a massive cup competition, to be crowned so-called the world champions, it's huge. But I think pressure's a good thing, and nerves are a good thing.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, just before we get into the team shape, George, and the lineup, were you surprised that, having gone with a back four for a number of weeks, that we saw a return to that back three in the semi-final? Did that surprise you at all?
Surprised me slightly, but I think we did need a bit of a shift. And I've liked the three when we've played it so far. So I was quite happy with it, to be honest with you. But I was surprised in the sense that he changed it for that cup competition. But this is going to be a difficult one to predict the lineup, because I expect it to be fairly similar. But we'll wait and see. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, do you think there's any sort of credence to the fact that whenever there seems to be trophies on the line, like when you get to the business end of competitions, it always seems to be the back three, the back three that won us the Champions League, the back three that's won us trophies and we've had success with. Like in league games and stuff, we've gone with the back four, and earlier rounds of the cup, there's been a back four. But it seems to me that when the trophies are on the line, it always tends to be reverting to the back three of which you've had the most success with, despite the fact that we've not got the first choice wing backs. He still seems to want to go with the tried and tested.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you have to go with what's been tested before, and the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you don't change a formula that seems to bring in the trophy so far and works for you. And I think he gets the balance right by experimenting with different formations in games that are less significant, because we do have to be adaptable, and that can also happen in finals itself. By playing different formations in different matches, we can then adapt and play a four and switch if the game's not going to plan. But I think when it gets to finals and the that tasty end of finals, we need to stick to what has worked so far.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't be too fussed either way with if we go with a 3 or a 4, but I think it will be a 3. I've got the 3 up on screen. George, normally goalkeepers one of the easiest positions to pick on the pitch when we're doing lineups with Chelsea. Tomorrow's a difficult one. It really is. I mean, like Kepa, I think fully deserves to play. He's done really well. I mean, the biggest compliment we can give him, I said a number of times on the channel before, is that we've not missed Mendy at all in his absence of the African Cup of Nations. Kepa's been outstanding in all the games he's played. 2 great saves in the semi-final, as you touched on earlier. But ultimately, Mendy is with the squad. He cut short his celebrations with Senegal to join back up with the squad. So you kind of expect that it would be strange for him not to play. But on the flip side, I just feel that Kepa fully deserve to play. I mean, Zoltlo was asked about this in the presser earlier, and he said that obviously Edu is back and fresh. We will take the decision tonight or latest tomorrow. Whichever one we decide, the one on the bench has no reason to be sad. The goalkeepers have given a big performance in the last weeks. I mean, firstly, George, are you surprised that by the sounds of that, they've not decided who is going to play in goal, and they could even decide as late as tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I'm a bit shocked by that. For me, it's Kepa all day long. I think he's played the previous game. He's played more regular football at a higher level. I mean, I'm not disrespecting the African Cup of Nations, but he's been playing in the system with the boys week in, week out for the last month or so. And, you talked about waves and riding waves at the top of the show. Kepa's shit hot in form at the moment. I mean, made some unbelievable saves in that last match, and he needs to play. No reason to drop him. If he's making saves like that, he's going to be... this is his highest level of confidence. So I have every faith, if the game gets difficult in moments tomorrow, that he'll be more than up to the challenge. I think if he brought Mendy in now, I just think, not that it's a risk because we know how good Mendy is, but I just think maybe Mendy still needs a little bit of more time to get back into the swing of things at this level with the side, and going straight into a cup competition after he's just been on that high with his national team. I just think it'd be not a mistake, but I think Kepa deserves the spot.
Yeah, I would agree that Kepa does deserve the spot. Look, I'm not going to be disappointed either way. We've got two top quality goalkeepers, and if Kepa plays, I don't think it doesn't make us more likely to lose. So I would go with him. I mean, I want to ask you a couple of things. What do you sort of make of people that say that, you know, you should always play your best goalkeeper in a final? Do you think that's a fair point?
My opinion changes on this every year because I think Chelsea are a cup winning machine, and we've done that because we've played our best team in finals. We haven't done an Arsene Wenger type thing where he plays kids. But then you could still argue now that who is the better goalkeeper? I mean, I know a lot of people will say Mendy, but
I think Mendy is the better goalkeeper. I think currently he's one of the best in the world. Kepa's certainly not one of the best in the world.
It's not clear cut. It's not clear cut.
No, it's not like a massive gulf in difference between them. But Mendy is definitely ahead. There's aspects of Mendy's game which Kepa is better at. You know, Kepa's better at distribution. He's better at saving penalties. Obviously, Mendy commands the box a lot better. But his distribution, his penalty saving is not so good. But I think as an overall package, Mendy is clearly better. But in terms of who should play tomorrow, I'd be happy with either in goal. I'm not too fussed. But I mean, part of me thinks that would they have bothered? If Mendy is going to Mendy, why would he cut short the celebration of Senegal winning the African Cup of Nations for the first time in the country's history if there wasn't a nod that he was going to play some part in this?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
I mean, obviously, he'll want to be there to celebrate because he was a big part of us getting there by winning the Champions League. But if he wasn't going to play some sort of part, do you think he would have joined? Would he have joined up so soon afterwards?
No, but in a weird sort of way, it might turn out that they both play a part where Mendy plays the game and Kepa saves the penalties. It might.
Yeah, that was my point. I was going to come on to, George. Obviously, you know, if it does go to the penalty shootout and Mendy starts, you get 5 subs anyway in this competition. You get an extra sub if it goes into extra time. So there's potential for 6 substitutions. I mean, we could have a situation where Mendy starts, but if it goes to penalties, he gets subbed off and Kepa comes on. That's more than feasible.
Oh, definitely. And I would 100% be doing that after what we've seen with the penalty saves from Kepa. I mean, he's an absolute machine at that. So that's a definite substitution I'd be making.
Moving on to the back 3 then. We saw Christensen, Rudiger and Thiago Silva all play pretty well in that semi-final. I mean, I think it's going to be exactly the same. These are our 3 best defenders. It's a final. You're going to play your best defenders. These guys are in form. I mean, do you think there's any chance that potentially Trevor Chalobah plays? I mean, I personally can't see it to put him in a final where he's not played a lot of minutes since his injury. I know he played a little bit in extra time against Plymouth, but he didn't feature at all in the semi-final. So, I mean, it's fairly straightforward that it's going to be these 3 again, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like we said, Chelsea there's no surprises when it comes to finals in terms of Chelsea playing their best team, and that's our best defensive 3. So unless there's a knock or an injury, that I can't see that changing at all for me. No,
and Thiago Silva obviously knows the importance of this. He's Brazilian. He's having played in Brazil before. He's desperate to win this one. He knows, you know, what Palmeiras are going to bring, what it means to the Brazilian fans. I think his influence in the dressing room will be even more important ahead of this game than it normally is. But yeah, these are our 3 best defenders, and you play your best defenders in a final, and you should really play your best defenders anyway. So yeah, it's going to be those 3. I mean, the only other choice is really Chalobah. So I can't see that happening for the reasons I gave. You could make a case for Aspie in one of those back 3 if he goes with a Callum or a Pulisic at wing back. I think that's highly unlikely. So those 3 pick themselves. George, wing backs. I mean, due to lack of options, I mean these pick themselves as well. I mean, how important is tomorrow's game for Azpilicueta? Obviously, he's been at the club for a long, long time now. He's lifted all the trophies as captain, but this is the one that's eluded him so far. He'll have the whole set at Chelsea if he wins this. he's played quite a lot of football this season, probably a lot more than he was expecting. He's obviously going to be skipper. He's the captain. He's going to have to lead by example tomorrow. It's a big game for him.
Yeah, but I think he will. I have every confidence, certainly when it comes to big matches, that Aspie steps up. I know we've been critical of him possibly winding down his career and not perhaps giving the performances that he once gave. And there is an argument that he's possibly better in a kind of central role rather than playing on the wide areas. But for me, he's still a solid player. He would feature in most top European sides in the defensive back line. And when it comes to tomorrow, I have every confidence that he'll put in a decent performance and will lead by example as he always does.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he's much better in a back four because it doesn't require him to get forward as much. Obviously, in a wing-back system, it does require the wing-backs to get forward and contribute to the attack quite a lot. He probably hasn't got it in his legs anymore. He did get forward on a couple of occasions last time out. He did put a great ball into the box, which Lukaku should have done a lot better with and probably scored. So he does have moments going forward, but yeah, he's going to have to be defensively solid tomorrow because I think Palmeiras could cause us a few issues. George, moving to the other side, I know the player that every Chelsea fan likes to scapegoat or is not that popular within the fan base, Marcos Alonso. By all accounts, he had a really poor game in that semi-final. Musa Marega was having a field day, particularly in that second half, getting past him at will quite easily on a number of occasions. We're not going to see Kennedy. If it was a back four, I probably would have gone with Malang Sarr, but Sarr at left wing back doesn't seem likely, and I can't really see in a final Tuchel springing a major surprise. So I guess by a process of elimination, George, it's going to be Alonso, but he's going to have to improve a lot from that performance in the semi-final.
Well, look, I'm not one of those fans. I love Alonso personally. I think he has been harshly criticised this season, considering that he's a second-choice left-back. You take some other second-choice left-backs at other clubs, and I think you could find a lot worse than Marcos Alonso. So, again, great servant to the club. He's won quite a lot of trophies in his time at the club. Yes, we know defensively he struggles with people who have got a lot of pace. But I don't know. The Sarr's an interesting one. I'm pretty sure Sarr played left-back. He played centre-back against Plymouth, but Alonso came off or on the bench. He was on the bench and came on.
Yeah, I mean, Sarr started at left-back in the fourth, but then he went into centre-back at half-time and Alonso came on. But I mean, look, we've got options. I mean, Sarr in a back four, yes. At left wing back, I'm not so sure. I don't know what his attacking capabilities are like. He'd probably be very defensive. But we've got that option to mix it up and change formation and use Malang Sarr, if how the game goes dictates it. But yeah, I think that back five is pretty much picks itself, really. I mean, George, moving into midfield, this is potentially interesting. I think Jorginho, for me, definitely starts. I'm not saying he was amazing in that first half against Al Hilal, but we're going to need to control that game. And Jorginho gives you control in the middle of the park. When he went off at half time, I think it was prearranged anyway because he played 120 against Plymouth. That he was going to have a bit of a rest. He was only going to play 45, but when he went off, we seemed to lose all control in that midfield. Kante had a really poor game by his standards. So I think J5 is going to be playing in the final. Do you think he takes one of those midfield two positions?
Yeah, for me, I think he does. Controls the game. Probably means that, again, I don't know, Kante might miss out, and it'll probably
be Kovacic I think as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Kante did replace Jorginho in that game.
Yeah.
But again, I think you need that for that control. It's always best to start with Jorginho, and then if the game pans out where we're lacking a creative, or we're dominating and we're lacking a creative spark, then we can bring him off and possibly bring some energy on, rather than going with two attacking players and then losing all control of the game. I think Jorginho offers that, so he would be starting for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad how we're not going to start Kante in a final. That would be unheard of normally, but such is how things are going. I think Tuchel started Kante in pretty much every final we've been in. I mean, I wouldn't complain I wouldn't be bothered if Kante started in this game, but personally, I wouldn't be starting him. I'd be going Kovacic alongside Jorginho. I thought Kovacic obviously rightly was man of the match last time out in that semi-final. I thought it was outstanding the way he picked the ball up, was driving forward, running with the ball, threading through passes in. This formation doesn't suit him as much as the 4-3-3 does, where he can play a little bit higher up the pitch. He's got to be a little bit more disciplined. But yeah, he's one of our most informed players at the moment. So, I mean, yeah, Kovacic is going to start either way for me, whether Kante starts or not. It's got to be Kovacic. I mean, were you impressed with him last time out?
I've got to say, mate, like Kovacic has been a player for me that I didn't give enough respect to. I think he was a bit of a Real Madrid B-list player because he's not the so-called Galactico type name. Came to Chelsea, thought, all right, yeah, he's a fill-in player, not necessarily that good, but what a player. I mean, the man, every time I've seen him live, just controls the game. His ability on the ball is unbelievable. He's seriously undervalued. Will never be fully appreciated because he's not that showstopper, goal scoring, but I mean, he is so key for us. I mean, it's frightening.
Yeah, no, he really is, and he's come on leaps and bounds to the player we saw when he was on loan that a few years ago. I mean, I was fuming when we signed him for 40 mil. Thought it was an absolute disgrace, but I think a lot of Chelsea fans thought that. But I'm happy to have that nice large slice of humble pie, and he's proven not just ourselves wrong, but I'm sure a whole raft of other Chelsea fans. But yeah, no. Yeah. I'd go with those two in midfield. George, onto the front three. I think it's fairly obvious. We'll get to it in a sec. Lukaku's definitely going to play. On that right-hand side, George, would you stick with Hakim Ziyech? He's been our most informed forward over recent weeks. He's not quite as effective in this 3-4-3 system, or 5-2-3, whatever you want to call it. Not quite as effective in this system, but he still looks probably our most threatening attacker last time out as well. And talking of riding waves, Ziyech is in a great place at the moment, so you just got to keep playing him.
Yeah, and people say it time and time again, play players on form. And with the form that we're having at the moment in the so-called front line area, with all players, that's Havertz, Timo, Lukaku, we're struggling for goals and struggling for creativity. And he's the one player at the moment who seems to be riding a little bit of a wave and, doing that. So you've got to play him, especially with the lack of goals that we get in the top three. He's an absolute shoe-in for me.
Yeah, no, he has to play. He's got fantastic technical ability. And I think he could be key to unlocking that Palmeiras defence, which could be quite tricky to break down. Moving on to centre forward. I mean, I'll be very surprised if it wasn't Lukaku. It's going to be him. I'd be shocked if it wasn't, as I said. An improvement in that semi-final against Al Hilal. He gets on the score sheet. I know it's impossible to miss, but he still was there and he still scored. He looked a lot sharper, did some good things and was better by, the very low standards he's set in recent weeks. And I think if he can push on and get another goal in the final, help us win this trophy, he could be on that path to redemption potentially. But yeah, he definitely plays. And I guess just more of the same and a slight improvement from last time out is kind of what we're asking for.
Well, yeah, I'm a bit drained by it. I mean, we were at the game in the FA Cup. I thought that was an absolute diabolical performance. And I think he's gone from now useless to bollocks by scoring that goal. Again, for me, mate, I've got to be honest, I didn't see any real, apart from getting on the score sheet, which is an improvement in itself, obviously. I didn't see a lot else. I mean, missed an absolute sitter again in the game. I just don't know what's wrong. I really don't. And, that'll be a one for another show, but he's got to play. I mean, he scored, which is thank God for that. And he just like all the great, potential strikers we have, we just want it. Of course, we want it to go well for Lukaku. I'm not going to sit here and say I want him to have a terrible time at Chelsea. If he can score all these goals to Chelsea and bring us things, great. And if he gets the winning goal tomorrow, fantastic. But we need a bit more. We need more. And he needs to, again, he's got a great opportunity, great platform, a final. Let's get a final. Let's get a winning goal and get that confidence back.
Yeah, and I think, and even just winning a trophy could help his confidence as well. So hopefully, this could be a platform for him to build upon. But yeah, he's definitely going to play. And whether people like it or not, he's going to be important to how successful we are this season because no one else really is scoring goals. So he's going to play. We need to get behind him and hopefully he can push on and have another half decent good game tomorrow. and we go from there. I mean, George, this left-hand side's interesting. I mean, I thought Kai Havertz did all right
I did.
against Al Hilal in his first start for a while. I don't think Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic are going to get a look in this game from the off. I'd be very surprised it didn't feature at all in that semi-final. So for me, it's between Mount and Havertz. I quite like the link-up. It looks decent between Havertz and Lukaku. I think Lukaku's got 9 goals this season, and 5 of those have been when Havertz has also been on the pitch. I think there's a bit of a link-up going on there that's quite nice. Havertz almost plays as a second striker off Lukaku rather than kind of that left 10. But, I mean, it's quite hard to leave Mount out of a final. So I know he's not been in amazing form, and maybe he will be left out of this match. But the only thing I do think is that if we go with Havertz, I mean, George, do you think it matters that whole front line is going to all be left footers?
Potentially, yeah, potentially. I think if you're looking at really fine details, it could be, because I think defenders then soon get the idea that they're going to try and always be on that left foot. So it's quite easy for them if they're on their right foot that they're only going to go one way. Obviously, of course, professional footballers can score with both feet, but Ziyech's always going to come in on his left foot. Listen, for me, I mean, if I was manager, Mount plays all day because maybe it's a bit of English bias, but I feel like he has more to offer. But I'm not the manager, so I would actually pick Havertz for this game. I think
Kai Havertz played well. I would as well.
He played well. Like you said, I really like the concept you came up with, that he can almost come in a 2, so he can play that number 9 role and drop in there as well.
He can almost go like 3-4-1-2. Ziyech could float behind the 2 if it looks a little bit more like that. So there's potential options there.
He shows ability. He showed it in the game, and out of all the front players we've got, including Timo in this, I actually really like Havertz. I think he gets a bit of I think he's one for the future. I think he'll be one that we look back on potentially when he's left Chelsea and be like, that's another one that we let go who's going to be huge. I really see the quality in Havertz that I've possibly lost faith in with some others. I think he's got a spark.
He just needs to do it on a more consistent basis, and hopefully he can start to realise some of that potential. But until he does, we can't keep saying he's potential. But yeah, there's bags of ability there. We just need to unlock it. But yeah, that's what myself and George would go with. Obviously, we'd have no problems if Kante or Mount were to start, but if that's the lineup we'd pick, virtually, I think it is exactly the same as from the semi-final. I mean, I don't think many changes will be made. Possibly goalkeeper and possibly Havertz or Mount. What?
No, maybe left back. I don't know. I'd say Mendy.
Maybe. But yeah, not. I don't think there's going to be too many changes, if any, for this one. So, as always, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments and in the chat if you agree or disagree with the lineup we've gone with. But yeah, I mean, that should be more than strong enough to get the job done against Palmeiras. But George, before we round out, mate.
Oh God, here it comes.
Score prediction. I mean, will Chelsea become the world champions, and will we get that gold badge on our shirts?
Yes, we will, but it won't be easy. I'm going to go extra time win for the Blues.
Score
2-1.
Mate, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think honestly, we're not scoring a lot of goals at the moment. Palmeiras is going to be hard to break down. Their fans will be well up for it. I think they'll probably outnumber us in terms of fans that have made the trip. It's just going to be difficult. I honestly think that potentially I could see this going all the way to penalties, potentially. I mean, I'd rather it didn't, because that's anyone's game and we could be in trouble there. But I mean, I think extra time is very much a distinct possibility. I could see 1-0, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Chelsea win, but I think it will be difficult, and I can definitely see extra time. But ultimately, we are going to become champions of the world, and we can add that to European champions, and we can finally sing that we've won it all with confidence, because we would have won it all. But yeah, it's going to be a tight affair. It really is. But yeah, guys, that's just myself and George's thoughts ahead of the Club World Cup final tomorrow. History awaits for Chelsea. This group of players could become the first group to win the Club World Cup for Chelsea, the first time in the club's history. So it really is a big moment. So hopefully, when we come back with the match reaction and player ratings tomorrow, we will be the world champions and we won't be disappointed. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in live. Please do subscribe to the channel. Please do smash a like on this video. On the road to 400 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you're tuning in live now or you're watching it back and you're not subscribed, please do click that subscribe button, share this, spread the word, and help us grow this channel as we head towards that 400 subscribers mark, hopefully by the end of this month. But as I said just a second ago, we'll catch you in the match reaction tomorrow evening, and hopefully it will be a positive one, and we'll be celebrating another trophy in the cabinet. But until then, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the game, up the Chelsea, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.